Song number
7, We See the Same Stars.
This is one of the most recent songs as well. This was a song, I was in a relationship that ended badly, would be an understatement of the year. And I actually had a breakdown with the relationship. I wrote this song and I wrote half of another song called Come Back When You Can. And I literally put the guitar away and didn't pick it up for 10 years. So I hadn't written another song since We See the Same Stars up until, we started talking about doing the album again. But it's like, for me, it's one of my favourite songs that I've written. I think it would have gone to you fairly complete.
It did. And I certainly finished most of the demo, most of my parts of the demo. But you had gone into that space where you really didn't want to engage with it, I think. So I sat around, as did all the songs, for a few years. I just kept them tucked away.
Nearly 10, I think, would be.
10 would be right.
Yeah.
It would be 10 years. But I always kept them hidden away, knowing that Steve would sooner or later come back to them. But it took 10 years.
Yeah, and in the studio, one of the things that came up, and this was the same as everywhere I go, was Jason's idea that the opening to both of those songs needed like a hook riff. And interestingly, I wrote them, in like probably 5 minutes in the studio. Both the riffs for both of those songs came out really quickly. And one of my favourite parts of the song is, the riff in the middle, and then it goes straight into Neil's lead, and they work really well together.
Yeah, that was Jason's idea, to put the riff back in the middle, and it just worked beautifully.
Yeah,
it really did.
Because I tend to, have a lot of space for lead solos after watching a lot of Neil Young through the years, and sometimes you kind of just run out of ideas if you're trying to make up a solo for 24 bars. So, but yeah, I've always thought it's a single, and it probably will be our 5th single, I think.
It'd be nice if we go out as a single.
Yeah, it's a good song. I think and I think it's one of those that a lot of people, it will resonate, across a lot of people.
Song 8, Before the Dark.
Yes, this was certainly from the dark period. So my cousin in England, David, unfortunately lost his battle with mental illness, and the saddest part about it, not that that's not sad enough, was that he wasn't found for like 5 days. He took his life and no one found him for that period of time, and that really upset me. I'd only met him a couple of times when I had been in England, and he was a lovely guy. He was quiet and just such a big heart. So when I found out that that he'd not only taken his life, but it had that such a sad ending, it just felt straight away I wanted to address it, I guess, or deal with it. And for me, a lot of times that's just writing a song. And the chorus with that, someone's got to find you, was kind of a bit of a hope thing, that hopefully someone finds you before something like this happens, but also that someone's gonna find you. Is that the horror doesn't end with that. The person who finds someone who's taken their own life, that goes on forever for them. But the song's very different from the original version. I think I would have just sent you
You sent me an acoustic guitar and a vocal, and we were going through our Massive Attack phase.
We were.
And certainly I was enjoying working with synths, so I sent Steve back a quite trip hop version, which really this version still is, and it probably stands out on the album because it doesn't fit easily with it, although I think it fits in the album. But I think partly it doesn't fit because it has that deep emotional core in the words.
And it's the only song I sing on the album, and I made a decision early on in the recording of the album that I didn't want to really sing on the record. I'm not a great singer. Neil's not a great singer. We both understand our limitations.
Yeah.
And the reason why we have all of these great singers on the record is because they're doing what we can't. but this one was actually done on the same day as My Town. And I had written a third verse for it, which I recorded that day in the studio. And if you listen carefully, you can notice a slight difference between the first and the second verse and the third verse. And look, it took me a long time to get it right because I hadn't sung for a long time. But someone like Jason was fantastic. He was just so. He just kept pushing me, to kind of make it work. And he really wanted me to sing the song, And I think Alistair could have delivered an amazing version of this.
Yeah.
But, I guess with the fact that it was such a personal song, it was nice to, even though it wasn't, even when it wasn't planned. And we were definitely going through a massive attack stage. I think we were looking at it recently and we've got something like 10 trip hop songs, so
at least,
we could at least do a full trip hop album if we ever needed to.
Maybe we should.
Well, maybe we should. It's just another interesting form of music, I think, and I think we both enjoyed it.
It's odd because that one you asked me for a screaming lead break, and I gave you this funny tinkly piano.
Yes. All I wanted was as long as it was haunting in the end, and it was quite a long solo as well.
It is. Yeah, I was actually expecting you to come back and say, "No, I want a screaming lead guitar solo."
Yes.
And I thought, "No, I really like what I've done there." But you thought it was obviously pretty good. So.
Well, the good thing is I think most of you guys, when I ask you to do something, you don't do it, and it's probably a good idea because I'm usually saying, "Can you do me a screaming lead break?"
Yeah,
so it's been a good thing that you guys know better.